Hey, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rekakwadash. Of course, double honors go out to the apostles and elders, great millstone, who through the Holy Spirit continue to give us His truth. This is Naaman with the DC camp, and this video today is going to focus in on an example of extreme self-hatred, as it were. And we're talking about none other than the former FBI director, the J.Edgar Hoover. All right. Who went through, I guess you could say, great pains to not have his um, lineage um, or the knowledge of it be known to the public. All right, so continuing with this is an original article. You see this demon here. Title: J. Edgar Hoover had black ancestors. All right, it says not all slave masters abused slaves. I'm gonna try to keep this to 10 minutes. Some actually treated them like family and bore children by them, like the Mississippi plantation owner William Hoover, who was an ancestor of his. All right. It said he had 8 children by my great-grandmother, Mrs. Elizabeth Allen. It says one of those children was my grandfather William Allen, and one was his brother Ivory Hoover, who later had one son, J. Edgar. Millie McGee, author of Secrets Uncovered, J. Edgar Hoover, Passing for White. And if you want to know an excellent movie to view this subject, it's going to be an old one, all right, but it is so good. And this is it here. It's called Imitation of Life. We're talking about the second one. There was a first one, which you see here in black and white, which was in the 30s, all right, but this one here, uh, Alana Turner, Mahalia Jackson sings at the end. It is a good, but it's an example of some of our people. This is the route they chose, because they wanted to be part of Esau's uh, world, forsaking their own, trying to escape the curses in that way. Again, it's called imitation of life. And I'll let you figure it out for yourself. I'm not going to tell you. There's uh, when you talk about 6 degrees of separation, oh boy. Well, again, we just had a beloved actor that recently died that had something to do with this, and it had to do with a scene toward the end where Mahalia Jackson is singing at the church, all right, and the woman that's crying, all right, those are real tears, and that's all the information I'm gonna give you. But yeah, very good movie. All right, back to the article. It says a new book entitled Uncovered J. Edgar Hoover Passing for White has been published, revealing that J. Edgar Hoover had the head of the FBI for most of its early history, from 1924 until his death in 72, had African American ancestors. All right. The author, Millie McGee, is an African American who says she was told as a little girl in Macomb, Mississippi, of her family's links with Hoover, described by the author Edward Spanos. His article, The Mysterious Origins of J. Edgar Hoover, as one of the most virulent racists to hold a top government positions. She says that her grandfather told of her of a very powerful man in Washington who was related to the family, but did not want the links to be known and passed himself off as white. What was that president's name? Hold on just a minute. Oh, Warren G. Harding. Similar case with him in Ohio, because he came in and sat at a funeral of some Jakes. People were looking like, but uh, he made a quote regarding that. So this mystery surrounding his death when he was, I guess, on a campaign trail or something like that. I forget the exact circumstance. I think they were on a train or something. And his wife, of course, refused an autopsy. I mean, it's really weird. But in any case, says McGee, a former teacher in Los Angeles, contacted a genealogist in Salt Lake City, Utah, for help in tracing her family's history back over 200 years. Her research shows that Hoover's grandfather and great-grandfather lived in a segregated African American area of Washington and were once classified in a census as colored. All right, and it goes on down and goes into his family. Um, let's see, skipping on down because this is a long article, and for time's sake, it says she says that his obsession with the assassinated civil rights leaders Martin Luther King and Malcolm X stemmed in part from a repressed anger about his secret life. All right. Apparently, although members of the Hoover family have contacted her and said that they are not angry about the disclosures, McGee's own family were unhappy with her decision to go public, as understandably they never wanted to be associated with him. All right. It says. It says, according to Spanos, apparently it was well known both inside and outside the FBI that there were rumors about Hoover's possible black ancestry, which were widespread during his long reign. There were also reports that Hoover deployed the FBI to track down who was behind rumors of his black ancestry, just as he did regarding rumors and reports about his homosexuality. All right. The American writer Gore Vidal, who grew up in Washington, D.C. in the 30s, told writer Anthony Summers that when Hoover was becoming famous, and it was always said of him and my family and around the city that he was mulatto. People said he came from a family that had passed, all right? It was the word they used for being of black origin who, after generations of inbreeding, have enough white blood to pass themselves off as white, all right? Uh, Continuing on down, it says Hoover's ancestry was always a subject of speculation within FBI because of his lack of documented heritage. That was always required when someone joined the FBI. All right. It says Wesley Swearingen, a former FBI special agent from 51 to 77, and author of the 1995 book FBI Secrets, an Agent's Expose, said that it was always viewed as a mystery, the lack of documented evidence on Hoover's background, because for all the FBI agents, they go back and check everything about your family, your relatives, and everything else to make sure they're squeaky clean. And here the director, and nobody knows really where he came from. Agents would get into topics like that when they were only surveillance or something, and when they finished the crossword puzzle and had nothing else to do, they'd start talking about Hoover. All the agents would get into on the subject of his real tight hair, his tight, wiry hair, and speculation that maybe there was a little hanky-panky in his family. And then his facial characteristics were really unusual. All right. So, yeah. Uh, wow. This guy was a piece of work. Okay. Uh, it says the entry for John Edgar Hoover in the Washington, D.C. Index of Birth was clearly added at a much later date, and the certificate number contains a suffix D signifying a delayed filing. Thus, Spanis obtained a certified copy of Edgar's actual birth certificate, which was not filed until 1938, when Hoover was 43 years old. The verification of birth is provided by an affidavit executed by Edgar's older brother, Dickerson and Hoover, Jr., who states that he was present when Edgar was born and that he himself was 15 years old at the time. Oddly, Dickerson's affidavit does not mention a doctor being present, in contrast to Edgar's own account. All right, so there you go. It says he found out that, curiously, Hoover had never applied for a birth certificate until after his mother's death in February 1938. All right, it seems obvious that his mother, Annie Hoover, if she in fact was his mother, would have been by far the best witness rather than a 15-year-old boy. Okay, so yeah. There you go. So for time's sake, I'm going to leave it there. Let's see. Get some scriptures. This is, let's see. Proverbs 15:32. He that refuses instruction despises his own soul, but he that